Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to be watching Ms. Marvel Season 1, Episode 1, Generation Y. I am so excited to finally start this show. I wasn't able to start it when it first came out because I just had so much on in my schedule. My CFS had been playing up a lot and I didn't want to risk another CFS burnout. And because this was a new show, so one that I didn't already have an attachment to the characters, I wasn't already desperately waiting on the next season or anything, I just decided to make it be one of the ones that just got pushed back a little bit between now and here. So excited. We're watching one episode every week. They're going to be coming out on Saturdays, every Saturday. The unedited version will be on my Patreon, the edited version will be on YouTube. I'm just so excited to jump into this story. I love all of the Marvel shows. This one looks really promising. Let's go.
Due to my extensive research and my diligent studying of podcast interviews,
of course.
Pretty cool guy. And you know what? She looked good doing it. Maybe she just needed a break, you know? Can't a woman just live?
I love seeing all the different people who have been inspired by different souls.
I'm gonna be dressed as guy.
Oh. Don't look at views, sweetheart. Oh, and
you set her up to fail, having her drive in the street with all the other cars.
Camellia, glad you're not bruising from that dodgeball incident.
Can't even learn your own students' names.
Still trying to think of that florist.
It'll come to me any
I already love her, and I already love her friend. Don't let me down, friend.
See you later. Would it be
Bitchy.
weird if you asked her for a ride to Venice? Yes. Why? Her mom used to drive us to school all the time.
Oh.
Time to start really thinking about your future. I mean, college admissions are
Terrifying, I know.
I know it's SAT. And I know, fantasy's fun. Fantasy's really fun. But right now, I need you to pull yourself together and join reality.
Growing up sucks.
It's not gonna be another first Avenger con ever again. Never.
I miss going to cons.
It's like she thinks I'm some kind of, I don't know, weirdo.
You are a weirdo.
Nothing wrong with being a weirdo.
Oh, cool. Is this Nani's?
Amir,
Does she know what it is?
take this.
All I really know about this show, because I've tried to avoid the trailers as best I can, is that she has like bracelets.
Kamala do it?
So now she's off gallivanting through Europe to discover herself. What does she have to discover about herself?
Good for her. Right? She wanted to travel the world and she went for it. So that's cool.
She connects all your devices, and I added some new features.
Oh lord.
All you can
He is going to be handy to have around.
what you want. So, ask her. Just ask her.
Bruno,
Ask.
spicy one at the bottom.
Asking the worst will happen is she'll say no.
Did you?
Fan events celebrating our great heroes of our time, and it's totally historic and it's like very educational.
Let her go.
At night. Is this a joke?
No.
Is Bruno
Is the convention at night?
I'm 16. Look, I promise I wouldn't do anything.
She is young, but that's old enough to go to a convention.
How exactly will you be dressed?
As Captain Marvel.
Huh?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvellous, the
Hey, salam everyone.
Let her go. She's old enough.
It's not that
Yes,
tight. And but me, no, because I can't do a single normal teenage thing in this house, right?
Come on, beta. You're not normal.
Oh!
Beta, I meant you're special.
Let her go. Look up what a convention is. Google it and see for yourself. They're not normally at night either. They run till like 5, 6-ish here. Home sweet home. It helps have genius, techie best friends if you want to be a superhero. You look great. I've never had the confidence to cosplay, but also just the ability to make one.
We have decided to let you go.
Really?
Yes, but there are special conditions.
Oh, that she can't dress up.
Who will drive you there? The Hulk! Wait, best is yet to come. Ta-da!
I mean, they're trying. Too much.
See, Kamala? So cute, you're
They're trying.
Now, where's your Orcamies to Avenger Con, okay? And you can't come with me. Not just like that, because it is so humiliating.
Oh, sweetheart. She's a teenager who doesn't want to hang out with her parents.
Us, Kamala. You're not going to dress up like all those other girls in skimpy outfits.
Show them the... I mean, for one thing, show them the outfit. It isn't skimpy. And for another thing, I love the idea. I love the fact that they came up with this idea of costumes that would be something that they could view as appropriate, that fitted, and that it was including them in what Kamala wants to do. But the truth is that, like, kids grow up, and obviously different cultures have are different. So I have not lived an experience other than mine, but I also was not a teenager that ever did anything that concerned my parents. And I'm not someone that can easily speak to, like, other cultures' experiences, and I shouldn't, because look at me. But I kind of just think, like, again, Kamala's outburst and saying, like, she was embarrassed. If there is some of that is to do with being embarrassed at being different from other people, then that is something that they should try and talk to her about. But I don't think that's purely where it comes from. I think it's that teenage thing of the idea of, like, she has this dream of going to this convention with her best friend and dressing up as Captain Marvel, and now her dad wants to tag along, and just, oh my god, Dad, it's coming, so embarrassing. You know, it's kind of that attitude more than anything is understandable to a lot of points, but it's also really sweet what her parents did, and I think kind of like both of them are trying and both of them are failing.
My head's stuck in fantasy land, so.
Who's they?
My mom, my teachers, Mr. Wilson.
It's your life.
You know, there was a girl in our neighborhood who did.
No, it's not.
And it's childish, and I know that, okay?
It isn't
Let's be
either of
honest,
those
it's not really
things.
the brown girls from Jersey City who saved the world.
That's why this show is so important.
You're Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
The world.
Oh,
With the right equipment, of course.
Speaking of,
a moment.
prototype.
Yes.
They are so cute. And she's going through growing up struggles. They're so sweet. Just apologise to your parents for what you said and try and talk to them about how you feel. They love you and just want what's best for you.
You and your fancy Zuzu system are gonna be my cover. So, when there's a knock on the door, don't come in, I'm changing! Finally, you being a genius is coming in handy.
Oh, sweetheart, sneaking out seems good, but at the same time...
It might be a tight window, but we're gonna do it with style.
Why is this convention taking place at night?
Bridge onto a bus?
There's nothing wrong with being into conventions and cosplay. There's nothing wrong with doing fan art and everything like that. Anyone who watches reactions or makes them is clearly into, you know, obsessing about TV shows, maybe films, maybe more than we should. And I love it, and I'm never going to change. There was a time when I was a teenager where I struggled with it, with thinking I was weird. But you know what? Proud. But also sneaking out of the house and lying about it to your parents isn't always the best thing to do if you want a good relationship to stay, but then I'm not someone that can argue about that. Jesus Christ! Oh, oh!
In Jersey City? Oh, I'd say you have a point.
What a dickish bus driver! Conventions are a magical place. Like, ugh, few I've been to. For me, it's the knowledge that everyone else there is into the same kind of stuff I am. It just feels like such a safe space. No. Sweet, like, winning in the competition isn't everything. Having fun is. You should have been going around the convention floor dressed up.
Last call for the Captain Marvel cosplay competition. Cosplayers, please line up on the
Just
side.
didn't put it on yet. Oh, the gloves! Oof. Whoa. There's our girl. Oh my god. Oh, I love you. But she's also very, like, distracted by everything that happened. You really brought something of your own to the stage! Oh lord. Oh my god.
I thought that my Captain Marvel costume was gonna make people stare.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god, no.
Are you available to play?
Time to be a hero, maybe? Oh my god. Well, this convention is going down in history books, that's for sure. Oh dear, this is not gonna go well.
Okay, come on, help me.
Did that come out your foot?
I'm not recognizing you. Who is this rebellious girl sneaking out, lying to Abu and me?
It's hard because she's growing up and she's like straining against the parental boundaries because they're set too tight. And I do think it is something that is a struggle when you're in a country where maybe the more dominant cultures, or more, not really dominant, but like the more prevalent, the ones you see around more, the cultures of most of the people she goes to school with, are that bit looser and less restrictive on a child growing up. You are going to think, I want to do that too. Why can't I do that too? And it's different backgrounds, it's different things, and everybody needs to learn to adapt and they need to talk to each other.
And you knew that it would betray me, but you still went and did it anyway.
It's her life. But this is an awful feeling to experience.
Do you want to be good, like we raised you to be?
Yes, of course
do
she
you want
does.
to be some, this cosmic head in the clouds person?
She can be both. She does need to focus on school a bit more, I think. But it's like, she's done all those errands with you. If she'd got her driving license, she would have done all the errands by herself. She is being there for her family. She just needs time to be there for herself too. But also she did sneak out of the house and her parent has every right to be very, very upset with that. Baby. I think she's gonna be a head in the clouds person.
Yeah, bring her in.
Oh dear. I absolutely loved this episode. I love Kamala. I love whatever her friend's name is. And I think this show is going to be an absolute delight. I loved the new Disney Plus Marvel shows that they've done. I mean, I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was still going to be the peak Marvel show to have ever existed, but this, I just absolutely adore this show already. I love Kamala as a main character. I think she is, we've had a few, a few sort of stories centered around sort of the young hero and how they struggle with it. With obviously in Hawkeye she was like 22, 23, so she was older, but she was still a baby. And Kamala is 16, but like Peter Parker, that kind of trying to struggle the balance of dreams with reality. And I loved looking at this as seeing Kamala being such a fangirl of the Avengers, of these heroes. And obviously you could see that thing from when she was little, that was like Captain America, and then when Captain Marvel came on the scene, she was just like, that is my person. And I think for people who watch this show, we are like that. We have our shows, our people. I mean, look behind me. I haven't been to a convention since COVID, but I went to my first one when I was like 21, 20. And then I went to one every year, at least one every year in London. Thank God I live like an hour away from London, so I can get there very easily. And they're my happy place. I mean, they are stressful places. It is hot, it is crowded, there are so many people around, and you've paid money to go and get that photo, and you're like, what if I'm there? Oh, I'm in this queue, and then you have all the anxiety that I get when I'm going to meet someone. But they are the most miraculous. The best day, sitting on that train after going to a convention is my happy place. I mean, it's quite a sad place because it's over. It just feels so good. If you're somebody who is on the fence about going to a convention, go. I've only ever been to one by myself. Most of my conventions, I had at least one friend that I went with. Otherwise, I went with a couple of friends. But I went to one in October of 2019, maybe, actually. I think what is it, the last one I went to? Was it, or 2018? I don't know. And the Shadowhunters cast were going to be there, and the Last Kingdom did a panel, and like I just went, and I went by myself, and I had a great time. You know, yes, it's more fun when you can bounce with other people. This is just something me talking about conventions. I love them. But for Kamala, I think this is her passion. The Avengers, and the Avengers are, imagine if the Avengers were real. You had these real people out there who would save the world, and therefore your life, everyone you care about, numerous times. You would want to go to a convention to meet other fans. It's fun and amazing enough as it is when it's just the fictional people. I think it's interesting, all these people from, whether it's like, I assume he was the guidance counselor at the school, or her parents saying, you know, get your head out of the clouds. And life in a capitalistic environment is awful, because you can't focus on things that make you happy. You have to focus on things that put food on the table. And we are animals, we are not suits to go to an office, I don't know. But it is her, because she is at that age where, you know, when you're a little kid, you can just play all day and no one cares. But you reach a point when you're older where you do have to balance the things you enjoy with the things that are your responsibilities and things that you have to do. And she is at that kind of cusp period where she's still a kid, but she is also growing up and figuring out who she is. And, you know, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being an adult and being into cosplay, being into fan art and fan videos and reaction videos and going to conventions. You know, that is something that I think is becoming more and more accepted in the mainstream. But fuck that. Regardless of that, there's never been a problem with that. And so I can kind of relate to that to a degree with Kamala. I mean, obviously, my parents are very different from her parents, because I'm English, they're English, I'm Australian, he's a dick. Anyway, but I like kind of a very different background from her. But I know at various points, you know, all I wanted to do was play Sims all day and make fan videos of my shows and things, and then you have to do your homework or whatever, and I was quite good with school. But it is a struggle between the things you love and the things you don't, and the age you have to figure that out. But also with being known as like the weird girl that's into that kind of stuff. I mean, I kept mostly to myself at school. I had lots of friends, like, okay, not lots, but, you know, people like me, we'd watch Merlin together, like, you know, my little friends. But like when the Hunger Games series came out, I was so, before it was even big, I was so into those books. And I like lent them to so many of my friends. And so people that I was kind of acquaintances with became my friends because I lent them these books and we talked about them and analysed them. It was such a brilliant experience. And I can remember this girl who I didn't talk to turning around and going, oh my god, Joy, no one cares about the Hunger Games. Oh, no one cares. And I was like, well, I'm not talking to you about it, am I? Talking to this person who does care. But, and I know one time a friend of mine said to me, oh my god, before you got into the class, we were all talking about how annoying your Merlin statuses are. And I was like, oh, okay. So now to this day, commenting on something gives me anxiety. Like, I don't tend to, I like comments partly because I know for me, I love any time anyone leaves me a comment, it makes me really happy. But for me, in my, like, watching somebody's fan video and enjoying it, I cannot leave a comment because, I mean, I have done, and it's a real stress for me because I get this real anxiety of sharing, like tweeting about my love for a show, even though Twitter is probably more reasonable a place than like 16-year-old Joy's Facebook Merlin statuses, but at the end of the day, you can just scroll past. I still have anxiety about that, so I really appreciate every comment that gets left. And I know I'm talking this a lot about me, and my experience is extraordinarily different from Kamala's, but I will say, in that small regard, I can relate to her, and also I think that everyone that's grown up can relate to her. I don't know, I just feel like I was talking about how I could relate to this show. At the end of the day, my experience with this show is going to be one of the least, most relevant. I have definitely, I think the diversity that is growing in the entertainment industry is brilliant. You know, the fact that we can have this show about a girl of Pakistani descent and her family life and their culture is so prevalent within it is so important, because there will be people out there who are seen. That quote, like, oh, it's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who save the world. Why shouldn't it be? And it's beginning to be, and I think that is so important. I mean, the dream is to reach a point where it's no longer praiseworthy to have things that are diverse. You're just like, yeah, of course there are. And I am not someone that is going to be best placed to talk about how well done it was, but I have seen people, I have not read the tweets, I scrolled past it. Actually, my mum mentioned that she saw Mehdi Hassan tweeting about it. People who have been really pleased with seeing their culture, or, you know, a culture similar to theirs, represented in this way. So I think they've done a really good job of that so far. And it's just her daily life. It just feels normal and naturally like a family, you know, whether it's a family you live in, a family you visit, it just feels real, and I have really appreciated that. It is really hot, my brain is scrambled, I'm sorry if this review makes zero sense. But Kamala as a character, I relate to parts of her. I mean, she's 16, at any age, being told, now you have to figure out what you want to do for your entire life is horrifying. I still don't know what I want to do with my life. I mean, I suppose I do know what I want to do with my life. It's just what I want to do with my life is not something that you can realistically do with your life in a capitalistic society. But I think Kamala has... I mean, obviously Kamala's going to become a superhero. But if we take that aside, she has the passion, the talent, because what her little video at the beginning, I mean, I say little, it wasn't little, was amazing. You know, making any kind of content is very, very stressful and very difficult. I mean, I know my reaction videos are not great quality. I try my best. I really do try my best. I hope my reaction, like, thoughts and everything are interesting, and I struggle sometimes with, you know, seeing other reaction channels that have like a zillion times more followers than me, and sometimes I'm like, that channel's newer than mine. But at the end of the day, I got to a place where I feel very healthy about it all. And I think Kamala's videos are genuinely look really inventive and good and talented. My god, that girl is talented. That I hope and I think she could succeed, and she could end up in an industry that benefited from her passions, so therefore her passions are not a downside. But they're not very traditional, which is the problem. I do think there is often a struggle between different cultures, or like a family when you're a parent who was raised, understandably, with a different culture to the one that you're now living in, and I hope I'm saying this right, balancing your kid who is going to school, who is spending time with and being part of a different culture, and your culture. It is a struggle. I know some of my friends whose parents came from different cultures, you know, they would have parents who were super strict on grades, or, you know, one of my friends, even now, I mean, she moved back in when she was like 25, she moved home again for like a year, and her mum didn't want her going out late, and was like, oh, you shouldn't go to parties or whatever, and it's like, she's in her 20s. It's just different cultures and different ways of life, and I think for the healthiest thing is to talk, and that is so hard to do when both of you are so emotional about it all. I think they're showing that culture clash very, very well. And I actually loved her parents for coming up with the Hulk costumes. I mean, as someone that is aware of the world that Kamala wishes to live in, you're like, that's just no. But I also don't think it would have been the worst idea in the world. It's mainly just she's so in love with Captain Marvel. I think they were really... It was just sweet to see them going to so much effort for her, going out on doing something that isn't something that comes naturally to them for their little girl. I loved that. But her response, I was like, she's not gonna... I mean, she's 16. She's not gonna be like, yes, this is so cool. To be honest, at 26, she might be like, oh my god, that is so cool. Let's go as the Hulk, a little Hulk. Maybe she's growing up. I don't know. They've done a really good job so far, I think, of showing both the love in this family, but also the natural struggles that come. And, you know, we haven't seen very much of her brother, but it seems like he's maybe just gone down the traditional path. And that's okay, that fitted for him. That was what his life... I mean, maybe he's secretly... We're going to find out more about him, I don't know. But, like, it seems like her brother just was someone that just naturally went down the path they wanted him to, and so therefore it's much easier to take than their child who is so very different from what they might have expected. I loved the little moment when they were like, oh my god, she ditched the wedding and she's gone backpacking, and Kamala was like, oh my god, good for her, and they were both like... Because it's natural, you know, times move on and people change, and I think Kamala is brave for... It's so weird, because there's genuinely a part of me that's like, I'm proud of her for staying true to what she believes in and, like, going to this convention, but at the same time, I don't approve of kids sneaking out of their parents' house, especially when, like, their parents aren't being, like, toxic or abusive. It's just, like, a difference of opinions. I say that as someone who... I've literally never fought with my parents. Okay. My father more so now, he's a dick, but, like, as a teenager, I was, like... I would read, I would play my games, my friends would come over, we would watch Merlin, have sleepovers watching Merlin together. That was my teenagehood. I never really did anything rebellious. So if you were a rebellious teen, and you. Obviously, I don't think Kamala ever was like, oh, I hate my parents, but she just knew what it was important to her. And it's so interesting because you just kind of, I know for me, the sort of relationship I have with my parents, with my mum in particular, I would have been able to sit down and explain to her how really important this thing was to me, and then she would have, you know, I had times where like, I'd be like, oh my god, can you lend me money because I need this poster, I need it. And then my mum would be like, okay, but you don't need it, save up for it. And I'd be like, that's so unreasonable. You know, I didn't fight about it, but that's kind of like, I don't know. There are things that you do have to listen to your parents and you do have to learn, and no matter of explaining what it means to you and how much you need it is going to get them to change their mind. And not going to this first ever convention would have been really disappointing, but going to the second one would have been just as fun. It's hard. They're doing a really good job of basically, they aren't demonizing her parents, and she isn't just this heartless, spoiled brat child. You know, you can really see how the way she sees it is that she's not trying to be rebellious, she's just trying to live her life. And I think you can also see that her parents are just want the best for her, and they were raised in a way that they think the best for her is something that's slightly different from what the best for her is, and the best for her is also slightly different from what she thinks it is, because she has to be realistic with that mixed in. It is basically just a situation with a whole lot of love but also a whole lot of misunderstandings. Then you throw into it this magical bracelet. Her powers were amazing. I'm so excited to learn more about them. I love her best friend as well. Having a tech-savvy best friend is very useful if you want to be a superhero. But I'm also very concerned because we've got some sort of police people coming after her. And then any kid learning new powers, could a bad guy see it and think, oh, that's just a teenage girl, I'll go take it from her? I don't know. I don't actually know what the plot of this show is, and I've made a very good point of not finding it out. And to be honest, if it was literally just a coming-of-age story for Kamala where we just see her figuring out how to be herself, what she wants, how to cope with her, by cope with her family, I don't mean cope with them, I mean like talk to them and get to a place where everyone's on the same page. But the bracelet was fascinating, and the idea that it's from her grandmother, her nanny, and her mother does not get on with her, and you know, she's scatterbrained sending all this stuff, and you know, I wish I could say she was because she's old, but she's always been like this. There clearly is a disconnect there, and you kind of just desperately don't want the same thing to happen between this mother and daughter. But maybe everything with Kamala could help her mum patch things up. It seems as though her grandmother maybe had the bracelet and lived in a fantasy world. It's interesting, and that could also explain part of why her parents are so rigid with following the structure, because they've seen what could happen if you stray, and it wasn't good in their eyes. And until we know the whole story, we won't know whether it was good or bad, or whether there were multiple sides to the story, basically, because clearly it was at least partly bad. But no, this was a really good episode. It showed a family that's full of a lot of love, but also are going through a rough patch, and the teething stage, basically, where you've got to try and figure out how you're going to be going forwards. Again, I don't know how much sense my brain has made. I'm so warm, but I loved this episode. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction and all of my reactions on my Patreon. Ms. Marvel will be coming out every Saturday. And thank you so much for watching.